to say that United Kingdom to share all the experience that studies in the Gulf countries, and we have been very close to Ana Elena. So welcome, Sharifa, and I will pass the microphone to Ana Elena. Please, Ana Elena. Share all the experience
Hello and welcome everybody from around the world. It is a great pleasure to be cooperating once again, collaborating with the university program for the study of Asia and Africa with Professor Alicia Giron. Hello and welcome everybody. I am very, very grateful as well. It is a great Dr. Sharifa Al-Yahyai for her willingness to participate in this important series of talks with Professor because we want to get to know the situation of women around the world Dr. Sharifa from Mexico. So I'm going to introduce Dr. Sharifa to participate in this important she is the former Minister of Social Development at the Sultanate of Oman. She was from 2004 to 2011. She is an academic who specializes in women's studies. Dr. Sharifa. She is the resource person to the second International Conference on Gender and Sexuality at the Sultanate of Oman. She was held in Colombo in Sri Lanka. She is a member of the editorial board of the scientific journal Rawafed. She is the resource person to the second International Conference on Gender and Sexuality for 2019. She's a board member of the Arab Women's Colombo in Sri Lanka. 2011. She is a member of the editorial board of the advisory board in University of Business and Technology in Jeddah from 2015 to 2019. Tumoshint in Algeria. As a researcher and writer, board member and motivational speaker as well. Dr. Al-Yahyai is an academic expert in gender equality in both the Sultanate of Oman and the Gulf Cooperation Council, the GCC. She played a significant role in improving national policies related to women's rights in Oman during her position as Minister for Social Development. During this period, in both she also had an important role in the history of Omani women, which resulted in creating the 17th of October as the Omani Women's Day by His Majesty the Sultan of Oman. During this period, since her appointment as Minister of Social Development in 2004, Dr. Al-Yahyai has been participating actively in a number of national and international conventions related to women's empowerment, child rights, civil society, and overall social development in Oman. She presented a number of papers on women's empowerment, leadership, and examining legislation and practice in Oman in national and international child rights. On the policy-making level in Oman, she was appointed as a board member in a number of national councils. She presented a number such as the Higher Education Council, the Research Council, and headed the National Committee on Family Affairs and the United Nations Committee for the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. Most importantly, Dr. Al-Yahyai received the Civil Ordinance of Oman, Class 2 by His Majesty the Sultan and headed the National in 2008. Dr. Al-Yahyai was awarded the Arab Women for the Distinguished Award from Arab Women Foundation in Social Work. Most importantly, in December 2018, more recently, Dr. Al-Yahyai received the Arab Women Award of the Year 2018 by London Arabia Foundation and the Arab London University. Distinguished Award from during her academic role in Sultan Qaboos University prior to being a member of Social Development, Dr. Al-Yahyai received the Arab Women Award of the Year. She published a number of studies relevant to Gulf literature, Omani poems, and women's social and cultural values. During her academic role, she was also professor at the Department of Arabic Literature in Sultan Qaboos University, and she is currently a visiting lecturer in the College of Arts and Social Sciences. She has a PhD in Middle Eastern Studies at the University of Leeds in the United Kingdom and an MA in Modern Arabic Literature from Sultan Qaboos University. Welcome, Dr. Sharifa Al-Yahyai. Thank you for accepting our invitation, and we are looking forward to hearing your presentation. At the University of Leeds in the United Kingdom and an MA in Modern Arabic Literature from Sultan Qaboos University. Welcome, Dr. Sharifa Al-Yahyai. Thank you for accepting our invitation.
Good morning, everybody.
Looking forward to hearing
hello
your presentation.
From Oman, Muscat. Thank you for joining me And also thank
Dr.
you
Sharifa
to
Al-Yahyai,
the
thank you for
National
accepting our
Autonomous
invitation.
University. Good morning,
And,
everybody. And my
looking
special
forward to
thanks to
hearing your
hello, Sir
presentation.
Elisa, the head of the program for the study of Asia and Africa. Thank you as
for
well as
joining
my
me.
thank goes
And
to also
Professor
thank you,
Anne,
Sharifa
Al-Yahyai. Thank you for
National
accepting our
Economic
invitation.
Good morning,
And,
everybody. Last and 3 months
and
hello, Sir Elisa, the head of the to be able to work together Asia and Africa. Thank you as for well giving you this presentation on women. Also, thank you,
Sharifa Al-Yahyai. Thank you for
National
accepting our
Economic
invitation.
Good morning, everybody. Last and 3 months hello, Sir Elisa, the head of the to be able to work together Asia and Africa. Thank you as for well giving you this presentation on women. Also, thank you,
Sharifa Al-Yahyai. Thank you for
National
accepting our
Economic
invitation.
Good morning, everybody. Last and 3 months
Sorry, Angelica, I think we need to stop.
from Oman
There's a
to be
problem
able
with
to
the
work
sound.
together Asia and Africa. Thank you as well
There was a
giving
loop
you this
created, I think,
presentation
listening to
on also
Professor
thank
Anne.
you
I do apologize. Thank you for
National Economic Good morning, everybody. Last and
I'm
3
sorry,
months
Angelica, I think we need to stop. There is a problem with the sound. There was a loop created, I think.
Creo que es el audio de esta chica.
The Gulf Cooperation Council countries. So welcome again, and I wish that my talk will be adding some knowledge and information to the students program. And if there is anything I can do to assist, to add some more information, then I'll be very happy to receive any questions, and I'll be glad to answer it and record it again to you. Definitely, I'm sure that many of you have even friends or family or been here before in the Middle East or in some of the Gulf countries, either for visiting or tourism or working, or even have friends or family who have been living here between us. And to start with, having such friends or family maybe help you at least to give you an idea of how the society works here, how the women in the society live, the social lifestyle, the work, the education, the all different life in the Gulf region, how the community, how the cultural, how the values, the traditions. So I'm sure you get close to one of these, if not all of them. So I don't have to bring more information about it, because definitely some of you, if not all, have been in close knowledge about the women in the Gulf. And of course, some of you, if not all, have get into knowing and understanding the region through readings and researches and movies made about the society and women in the Gulf, which some of them unfortunately have presented a very negative stereotype about women in the Gulf and women in Arabia, that they are obsessed of maybe today with many things, or maybe they are broken wings, or maybe they are oppressed by the society or the religion or the values or the traditions. What I'll be trying to bring you in this presentation is to give you a comprehensive idea and knowledge about the rights and duties that women in GCC have obtained for the last 50 to 60 years since the last century. So welcome again, and I wish you all the best and good luck with the program. Let's start with a general idea about what we have here in the Gulf. General idea about women, women of GCC. It's well known that women in GCC since the late 50s and 60s, and even before the oil, that they have a privilege to obtain social and public recognitions within the family, within the society, within the community, even before the law. So, and before the legislation that we have for the last 50 years. Most of the Arab Gulf people were moderate and very open-minded when it comes to women life and women participation in family and in public life. We don't used to hear from our mothers and grandmothers that they have social barriers or social constraints or restrictions, but they do have some values and some traditions that women are not allowed to go outside of her house without the permission of her husband or father. Women are not allowed to go late night or to mingle with men from outside the family, which is, I think it's all over the world. It's not only with the Middle East or GCC. So during the 50s and 60s and 70s, there was no much to say about women equal rights to men. There was no much to say about public participation rights mentioned in the legislations. But today we do have that women of GCC has played a very important role in different aspects of politics, society, economics. So they became very active and very progressive and very aware of their rights more than the women in 60s and 50s. Despite whatever we have, from changes and movement and progress, but we still have radical dynamic changes. We still have, as I said, social barriers and obstacles within the mindset of women themselves, and it's reflected on the society and the religion. Let's have, as I said, a general idea, and I think I don't need to go into each single line to read, because it's very obvious and clear that you can go through it. But I will start with the population. GCC population in general, it's over 54 million, according to 2019 census. Oman itself is 4.47 million. Female is nearly half of the population. So it's quite a small amount of population living in Oman. But when it comes to specific improvement happened to Omani women obtain political rights to vote and for the national election since 1994. And the year from 2003 through the 2004, female ministers were appointed, nearly 4 of them at that time. And then also there were 5 female appointed as second public prosecutors. Also, a very big improvement and empowerment happened in 2008. Women of Oman given the privilege to have the equal testimony before court with men. And if you are aware of Sharia law or Islam law, and it's mentioned that woman is only half testimony to men testimony. So if one man testimony before the court, he has to have two women to equalize his testimony. But in Oman, they made it equal. Public prosecutors for Oman was appointed for the first time in 2008. Other than that, the slide shows that we don't have a pay gap. We are men and women equal. If we are equal in pay gap, in pay, income, if we are equal in experience, certificate, skills, so we are equal. There is no discrimination in paying between men and women. Today, we don't have a female judge. Oman and Saudi Arabia, until today, they don't have a female judge, and we hope that we can have it in the near future. If we go to the second slide, which the Kuwaiti women, the Kuwait population is 4.2 million. Female is 1.6 in 2019. Specific also improvement happened for Kuwaiti women from, let's say, from 2005, the political election were granted for women in 2005. So women has the right to vote. And she also has the right to run for an office in the local and parliamentary election. 2009, 4 women won the seats in the national election. And in 2020, 8 female judges was appointed in Kuwait, were appointed. They do have pay gap, unfortunately, 38 in private sector and 28 in public sector. So, and other than that, it's obvious that female in education is the highest in the GCC. The workforce dropped to 49.3% during the 2020 because of the, I think it's the global influential of the COVID-19. Bahrain population is 1.7. Female is 586,000. And women in Bahrain are more advanced and more empowered than women of GCC when it comes to the political and civil rights. So Bahrain is the most advanced in women in education and public life and politics. Since 1928, women in Bahrain go to school, the first to go to school among women in GCC. In 1937, the first to get the university degree. And in 1945, the first to get a driving license. The right to vote and elect in 2002. Then first female judge was appointed in 2006, which is the first among the GCC, as I said, in Bahrain. Also, Bahrain achieved good progress in share of companies with female board members. The share increased from 12% in 2010 to 14% in 2014. The workforce also dropped to reach the 45% in 2020. Moving to UAE, the population of UAE, United Arab Emirates, is 9.8 million. Female is 3 million. And UAE has worked very hard to empower the women, the Emirati women, in the last 10 to 15 years. So in 2006, women granted political participation. And there were so many ministerial and federal decree and laws being amended to empower women. They don't have pay gap. So by law, they have gender equal pay. That was in 2018. And also they have amended some laws to allow women to be a judge equal to men, because it was, before that, it was a state in their law, it says that the judge has to be male. So by amending such law, women are allowed to be judge. The big push from the government made into women of Emirati to be 50% of the national parliament seats granted for women. 29.5% women in ministerial cabinet members. They have 12 weeks maternity leave, and the only country in GCC who allow men or the father to have 3 days of the after the child birth. Like elsewhere, women participation in workforce has also dropped. It was 56, today it's 52. 23,000 businesses are run by UAE Emirati women, which is worth approximately of around 45 to 50 billion dollars. Moving to Qatar, Qatar population is 2.8 million, female is 698,000. And the first Qatari woman appointed as a Minister of Education in 2003. In Qatar, many women are members of board of directors in government bodies. And in 2007, women of Qatar given the right to vote. In 2010, the first female Qatari woman appointed as a judge. As elsewhere, also the workforce of women participation dropped to 57% in 2020, which is the highest among the GCC when it comes to women participation in workforce. Also, Qatari women are very active in business. Now we're coming to Saudi Arabia. The population is 34.8, which is the highest in the GCC. Female is 14.4 million. Saudi women were granted 30 seats, which is the quota of 20 in the parliament. That was in 2011. And 2016, they've been giving a huge advance when King Abdullah allow women to have the right to drive and to be, and that law active in 2018. So this decision was really big move made to empower women of Saudi Arabia in the area of mobility via vehicles and easy travel. Maternity leave, they have 70 days. And the female, still they don't have any female judge or prosecutors. Now this is some of the data given by the International Labour Organization, which estimate the participation rate in the Arab region in 2020 is 47.9%, which is the lower when it comes to the global average. And it's due to the low participation rate of women. We do have also unemployment rate among young women. In the Arab region is 42%, which is very high, which is double than the men. The good thing is the unemployment or unemployed Qatari youth is only 0.1%, which is low, very low. In Saudi, it's 32. Again, we can see here the labor force rate in general, which is very high in UAE and in Qatar. Let's go to the one of the topics that has been discussed and mentioned in the last 15 years in the region here about the leadership, and specifically women in leadership, and how women in GCC are capable to be a leader in business mainly. And I believe that the empowerment starts from business. If woman is very strong in business, then she will be able to lead and to empower the society and the government and even her own children. So this slide shows you GCC women in leadership positions, still wider gap when looking at the number of GCC sitting in the board of directors. Of course, UAE in the recent years has the highest number of women in that list, with 18 in the board of directors, and followed by Saudi Arabia with the improvement that's been made by the government. Across the region, only 13% as CEO only, compared to 21 in the developing countries. This share of executive roles ranks from one country to another. In Saudi Arabia, 6%, in Qatar, 7%, and 70% in UAE, and in Bahrain, 22%, which is the highest. One more thing that before we go to the legislation, as we are going to celebrate the International Women's Day, 8th of March, we do also in the Gulf, we celebrate some National Women's Day. Kuwait, they celebrate it in 16th of May every year, UAE in 28th of August, Oman in 17th of October, and in Bahrain, 1st of December. Now, I need to add one more point, that majority of the data, when it comes to data and numbers, that I have the source from the World Bank data and national centers in the GCC in each country, who provides annual data of different aspects. And I also get the articles of some of the legislations from the legislation itself. Yes, let's start with the one big thing. It's the equality in legislations, and we do have certain national legislations states the equality between men and women, and these can be found in the constitutions, or what we call the basic laws, and providing equal rights to men and women for the having house welfare laws and lands, and also the right to have passport in the passport laws. So let's start with the social equality in the basic laws or constitutions. It's, if you can see from the first slide, Kuwait and Oman. Oman in Article 21 in the law, in the recent law, as we do have basic law issued in 1996, but the second one being replaced by another one in 2020. And Kuwait law constitution is the oldest in region and has not been replaced or amended. So both Articles 21 and 29 ensure that all citizens are equal and no discrimination from whatsoever based on sex or religious or race or language or color or whatever. So this is Oman and Kuwait. Going to Saudi Arabia constitutions issued in 1992, and Bahrain constitution issued in 1972. In Article 8 in Saudi, Article 1 and 5 in Bahrain also states that citizens are equal. And in front of the law, and they have the right to participate in public rights. Bahrain also mention or add something that guarantees the duties of women towards the family with their works in society and their equality with men in political, social, cultural, and economic spheres without breaching the provisions of Islamic canon law. Again, in Qatar, permanent constitution issued in 2004 and UAE constitution issued in 1971. Also, the article states that all, either Qatari or Emirati, they have the right to be to receive equal services and to receive equal freedom between male and female. And in UAE, women under the constitution enjoy the same legal status. So this is, I think, clear about the constitutions mentioning the equal rights between men and women. Moving to passport law, actually Kuwait and Bahrain. Kuwait passport law number 11 issued in 62 and Bahrain issued in 1972. Both laws until today required male guardian acceptance in issuing women passport. These the only countries until today have not yet amended their passport law to remove the male guardian acceptance, to be able women to have their own passport without any male acceptance. Meanwhile, Oman, Qatar, UAE, and Saudi Arabia have amended their passport law and remove any guardian acceptance to allow women to have their own passport. Now moving to another service provided for both male and female of the GCC, either house welfare services or land grants. Oman so far is through the governmental lands entitlement, the law issued in 1984 allow women, recently in 2008, allow women to have the right to men to have her own land. That doesn't mean that women are not allowed before, but before, for the nearly 40 years, women only if they are under social security, they are entitled to have a land from the government. I mean, a residential land or whatever land uses, like commercial, industrial, or agriculture. But men, they can get as much number as they want from the government as a grant. But women now, today, it's no matter of her social status, she has the right to get that right equally to men. In Kuwait providing some services through their housing welfare, and that services is including Kuwaiti women married to non-Kuwaiti, has children, Kuwaiti woman married to non-Kuwaiti residing in Kuwait and doesn't have children, and Kuwaiti divorced women and widows who don't have children, as well as single Kuwaiti woman age 40, and Kuwaiti divorced woman and widowed who has Kuwaiti or non-Kuwaiti children. These are the categories mentioned in the law that these categories are allowed to get the housing services. Also, children of Kuwaiti mother are allowed to stay in the same house or residence of their mother after her death. So the girls can stay as much as they want, and once they get married, they can leave. Sons stay until the age of 26. Now moving to UAE, the UAE have a program called Sheikh Zayed Housing Program, launched in 1999, providing women with different social status like widows, divorced by husband who cannot provide a home for her children, or unmarried and over 30 years old of women, or married to non-Emirati with children holding UAE nationality whose father cannot provide adequate home. These categories are allowed to apply for such a program in UAE. In Qatar also, they can give housing loan or units to all Qatari under social security or in need for adequate home. So moving to housing benefit in Bahrain and in Saudi Arabia. In Bahrain also, if woman-headed households, she can apply for the government housing services. There is also a ministerial decree shows that Bahraini working woman can apply if she has a regular income and she don't own her own house. Also divorced women with children or widowed as well as unmarried women also can get the benefit of the government housing services. Saudi, all women, either wife, widow, divorced mother, have the right to apply to get the benefit from the housing program. And this housing program, including units, residence land, or loans. Now, with all of the laws mentioned previously, that's providing some rights and some benefits for women equal to men. There, we do have some laws are still discriminate women for the favor of men, especially the personal status law and the citizenship law. We will go through it again, so I don't need to go for a long time talking about each single article, but I can just went through it. Before we start in each personal status law, I have to say that there is a document called Muscat Personal Status Code document. Since 1996, all the Gulf adopt this document and use it as their own personal status law. Only Kuwait, who has previously has Kuwait owns personal status law since 1984. But Oman, UAE, Qatar, and Bahrain, they do follow the Muscat code. Saudi Arabia until today doesn't have personal status law. This laws or this law, personal status law, it's really like a roadmap for male and female, for family, roadmap, regulate the marriage, the divorce, the inheritance, the guardianship, the freedom of movement, the children custody, everything. So whoever want to build their own personal life, they have to stick to what is the law says. And yeah, until amendments will be made, then this law will have to be followed. Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, and Oman, as well as Saudi Arabia, as I said, has the right to follow this law under the Islamic Sharia. One of the things that I need to mention is dowry. Dowry is the amount of money given to the lady or the woman once the marriage is agreed on. So before the conclusion of marriage contract, dowry is the money that is the right for women to do whatever she wants to do with it. There is another thing which is very good, and we have to work on it to shed light on it, that woman has the right to stipulate whatever condition in marriage contract. So if she wants to keep what we called it the divorce right and in her hand, she has to stipulate this condition in the marriage contract. If she wants to stay in her own family house or in her own house without moving to her husband's area, then she has to mention it. If she wants to stay working without forcing her to leave her work or job, then she has to mention this. Yeah, they have to agree on everything, but she has to clarify that this is what she needs and this is what she asked for. Another thing that I'm not happy really with, it's the woman, if she wants a divorce for whatever reason, we call it khula, and it's mentioned in Quran and in Sharia law that she has to go and apply for divorce in the court. If she has that right and she divorced her husband, then she has to give him back all gifts and all materialist things that he paid her. Not the dowry, but the other things, like if he buy her a car, she has to give it to him back. If she give her gifts or presents, she has to give it to him back once she decide to divorce him. While men can divorce verbally his wives or their wives with no reason even sometimes. There is another thing that women can lose her custody of her children if she remarry. Yes, this is some of the things that really need to be looked at again. The age of marriage and guardianship. Generally speaking, all the Gulf countries agreed through the personal status law that no marriage will be concluded without a male guardian. When it comes to Oman personal status law, the age of marriage is 18. Kuwait, the age for women is 15 and for men is 17. Again, the Oman personal status law, the custodian given to mother or grandmother, but mother cannot travel without approval of the guardian if she wants to take her children with her and if she is the custodian of the children. There is one step made in 2010 that if the male guardian in Oman, if the male guardian refuses to allow his daughter or his sister to marry the person of her choice, then she has to go to court, and the judge will be, because we have male judge, the judge will be her male guardian. If the judge refuses to marry the woman, then she has to appeal to His Majesty within 30 days of the court order. Kuwait, as I mentioned, it's also required male guardian to conclude the marriage for women, but there is something else that's quite uncommon in the GCC personal status law. Kuwait is the only country who gives the custody to the father. So mother cannot be custodian of her children. The father or the grandfather or whoever that the court sees is a good one to have the children custody, but not the mother. UAE personal status law, also the age of marriage is 18 for both, and woman can divorce her husband if she agrees to put her condition, as I said before, in the marriage contract. Mothers and grandmothers are the child custodians. Male in Bahrain, male guardian also required for marriage. Mothers also are the child custodian. Qatar, the age of marriage is 18 for both. Saudi, as I mentioned, they don't have a personal status law, but they do follow the Sharia law when it comes to marriage and divorce and the age of marriage. Moving to the most challenging law in the region and in Middle East, and yeah, a lot of women are really bringing this law on discussion and asking for amending it, but it's so far, with the exception of UAE, the citizenship may be passed from mother to her children if the children reach the age of 6. but most of the countries, Oman, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi, they cannot pass their citizenship over the children. So this is one of the major discrimination against women in the region and in the Middle East. I'll end up my presentation with the speech that all the time I quote when it comes to equal rights for men and women in the whole world and in our region in GCC and in Middle East, that we are all, men and women are all equal to serve and to get our rights and duties. And the quote I'm all the time using is His Majesty Sultan Qaboos bin Said, the former Sultan of Oman, Allah bless his soul, who passed in February last year, 2020. This quote, he once mentioned in the annual session of Oman Council meeting in 2009, and this is immediately a month after the Omani Women's Symposium, which is the only Omani Women's Symposium in history of Oman, discussed women issues and the challenges and what are the chances and the equal opportunities women of Oman need. And from that symposium, Oman came up with the His Majesty decision to make 17th of October Omani Women Day. So His Majesty said the country needs both men and women, and it is undoubtedly like the bird relies on its wings to fly to the horizon of the heavens. So how would it be if one of the two wings was set up broken? Can he fly this way? So now my final word, women and men are the two wings of any country. Country cannot fly and cannot improve and cannot be advanced and cannot be in the right track of development without women. And again, politics, economics, and legislation, and even religion are no more male-dominated areas. So we have to be involved in writing legislations and even in interpreting the religion and rethink of the interpretation being made by men in laws, in politics, in business, in everything, even religion. We have to rethink about it and open door and give a chance to women and equal opportunities to women to serve as men, as we are both the wings of the country. Thank you once again, and I hope that I didn't take much time, more than the time given to me. And I'll be very happy to receive your questions or any comments, and I will record them again and send it back to you. I wish you all the best with the program. I wish that I could join you really in Mexico or in London, but with this COVID, it doesn't show that it will be a close end. Thank you again, and have a good day, and take care. Bye-bye.
Dear Sharifa, thank you very much for this splendid talk that you have given to us, to our UNAM, our university, who is very happy to have you here in the National Autonomous University of Mexico, one of the biggest university. It's a public university, and we are very happy to have you here. Well, first of all, I'm going to say that I love how you said that Your Majesty, the Majesty said that two wings are the ones to fly. And when one wing is broken, it is very difficult to have development in this world. So as soon as I have been hearing you, it is very interesting seeing how this council, how was formed the Gulf Cooperation Councils many years ago, and how are included the 6 economies who are one of the most important economies, not only that area, but if we sum all the GDP that they have and the intersection that they have, especially with oil, they are really very important. And it's very interesting to see how development and also women's rights have increased. The United Arab Emirates, Oman, Kuwait, the King of Bahrain, the King of Saudi Arabia, and Qatar has been improving a lot women, but also because it has been a change in the economy field. And that's why women has approached a more inclusion in the economy, and also free also in the way they can have a partner, and also in the challenges that they are doing in their societies. So I'm very glad that you have make a very few very few and very quick synthesis, resume about women in economics, women in leadership, how is the discrimination against women, how they are fighting for the human rights. And also one of the things that it is very important for women is the age of marriage, and also how they are trying to change the guardianship. So also how they are changing the citizenship laws. But I think the way you have introduced us to these 6 Gulf countries has been a lesson, especially not only for Mexican women, but also for women who are fighting for a better world.
Good morning, everybody.
So this is just will be my very short comments to your talk. I enjoy a lot, and I'm going to give the microphone to Ana Elena, that she has been in touch with you, and thanks to Ana Elena, you are here, and thank you, Ana Elena. Okay, I give you the microphone. I give on the floor.
Good morning, everyone.
Thank you very much, Alicia. And, well, yes, it has been a pleasure listening to Sharifa with such a complex topic, and so much clarity about the situation of the 6 member states of the Gulf Collaboration Council, Cooperation Council, regarding the role of women in the public sector, Qatar, and also as leaders in private companies, their family rights, their rights to their legal rights in different areas of life, equality and pay. What I find is that often the legislation goes faster than its application, but that is the tendency. It is very important that women participate in writing up the legislation so that society can move in a certain direction. I believe we have a few questions that Sharifa was kind enough to answer for us, and so we are turning to these questions right now. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. And again, I am very happy to hear that there are so few questions need to be answered from my side to clarify some of the data and points that I mentioned in my presentation. I've received 4 actually so far, and I hope after the presentation, I will receive many. Let's start from the points that in my data and numbers I've presented. Is immigrants, women participation considered? Of course. Whoever lived in the GCC countries will notice that we do consider in our data, national data, the immigrants workers, immigrants families, and immigrants youth in the data and the numbers and even in the census that we have every maybe 10 years when we do the national census in each country of the GCC. So they are included actually. And from this point, the population of each GCC countries, I have mentioned in my presentation, it's count the immigrants and those also who live or study or travel at that time of the census. So they are considered. And are they considered in GCC laws? When we talk about the national laws and articles are devoted to citizens of each GCC country, of course, they won't be included. So these are laws, articles devoted exactly for the citizens of each GCC. For instance, if there are some rights, housing rights, or passport law rights, or nationality rights, or social security rights, or healthcare rights. So these rights are only given for the nationals of each country. But we do include immigrants in our laws if it's deal with the labor, let's say labor laws, they are included. The labor force law, we do have included the civil services law, we do have included the immigrants in their laws. There are some also laws which can provide them some services like the healthcare services, which is only for people who are not from the same nationality of the GCC nationals. So we do consider them, we do count them, and actually, as you know, if you see the population of the GCC, you will see imbalance between the nationals and non-nationals. So they are actually more than the national itself, especially when it comes to UAE and Qatar and Kuwait. And I'll give you specifically some data when we talk about the imbalance between the national and non-nationals. Let's say Kuwait population, as I mentioned, it's nearly 4.8 million. Out of that, 3.4 million non-Kuwaitis. And the same, we will be talking about Qatar, for instance, only Qatari nationals, only 300,000 so far. And the rest are non-Qatar. So we do have data as considered the immigrants. This point will lead us to the other question, which is why is Qatar having the highest women's participation rate in workforce? I think the previous point is explaining why we're having the highest women participation in workforce. We know Qatar and almost the same of the GCC, they're still male-dominated societies, and most of the workforce are male-dominated, as I mentioned, due to the traditions, the values, the constraint of women by the society, and actually government is pushing very hard since the last 20 years. So in many GCC, the government is helping women to find their way in the public life and in the workforce by providing education and by pushing women to be in the political decision sectors, and by bringing so many opportunities only giving to women. So let's say Qatar, for instance. Qatar has the highest in education rate. Qatar, 52% women in workforce more than men in Qatar. And that's because of Qatari women in higher education graduates is 67%. Okay, so 67% are women who graduated from higher education, which is twice as high as men. And also in the higher education enrollment, they are very, very high. So by the support and the facilitate women received from political leadership and society, helps the Qatari women to participate in the workforce very high comparing to the GCC. And from that point, Qatari women themselves are only 2% of the women participation in workforce in Qatar. So from that percent, which is over 58, 2% only are Qatari women, and the rest are non-Qatari. The other point is why is the women for workforce participation dropping in GCC? I don't think this is only in GCC, this issue. And why? It's everywhere in the world due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the crisis that caused the whole economical market to drop, not only in GCC, but in many of the countries in the world. When it comes to GCC, of course, similar to other countries, it drops in 2020. And as I said, it's the COVID-19 crisis, which is result, first of all, in the oil price drop, and which lead us to the economic contractions. If we see GCC economic contracted by 7.6% in 2020. And this downturn is mostly evident in tourism, aviation, and in oil sectors due to the decrease of global demand for these services. Also, GCC business to pass the cost of COVID-19 by imposing pay cut and replacing migrants with the nationals. We have to go to this point because with the COVID affect all the business sectors, and the number of migrants is very high. So government took actions to reduce the migrants' rate by cutting the pay, first of all, and by sending many migrants so far to their countries, and by replacing the labor force with nationals. By end of 2020, for an example, one of the research mentioned that 1.2 million migrants left Saudi Arabia. 300,000 already left by the early of 2020. When it comes to Oman and UAE, the population expect to decrease by end of maybe 2020. We're already in the early 2021. So in Oman will decrease 4%, and in UAE will decrease by 10%. So that's the point. That's the point why the labor force decrease. Let's go to the point which asking about women rights organizations. In GCC, we don't have what we call NGOs, the non-governmental NGOs or organizations, but we do call them. It's similar, it's very similar in the concept and in the framework, but we call it societies or associations. Of course, we do have women rights associations, but we don't. The only one that it takes the same name, it's women rights. It's in Dubai Foundation for Women and Children, which is founded in 2007. This is the first licensed non-profit NGO for women and children protections in the UAE. Of course, their agenda is to protect domestic abuse victims by providing safe homes and rehabilitations. The NGO has also community education programs to prevent violence in the UAE among women and children. Part of Dubai, we do have since the 70s that what we call it women associations. We have it in Oman since 1971, Omani Women Associations. Today it reached over 60 associations in the whole Oman cities and regions. In Kuwait also they do have the Kuwaiti Women Union. In UAE they do have Emirati Women Union, and Bahrain as well, Qatar and Saudi. So these associations and societies, part of their agenda is to raise the awareness among women about their rights in any part, either the social rights or the business rights or the labor rights. So they have to raise that awareness. And they do have also do specific programs to train women and build their capacity when it comes to the election. The national elections in each country, they do have specifically programs designed for women who are intent or interested in joining the national elections. We do have also programs for young girls to build their self-esteem, how to get strong within her family, in her life career, in her society, in public life. And we understand that many of young girls in GCC today are totally different than the women in the old era in the GCC. Young girls today became more aware of their rights, more independent, more confident, and more of happy of what they have, and they are willing to ask for more opportunities, for equal opportunities, for their rights to be equal to men in the public service and public life. So they do have their own decision, they do have their own rights. And what we have today is one of the agenda that's been built within these women associations in the GCC, either in Oman or Kuwait or Qatar or Bahrain or UAE or Saudis. So that's what we call it, the women associations and women societies. And we do have, in general, women associations, and we do have also association, it's only for women in business women associations or professional women associations, and doctors in different type. We do have associations according to the professions and the career that women would like to set up. So I think that's my answer for the question that I have received. And I hope to I hope that I gave you a clear answer, and all the best and good luck with the conference. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sharifa. It has been a pleasure to have you here. And when I was hearing the answers that were, the questions that we asked you to answer, I think you have said a very important thing, and that is that the public policies with a gender view are very important for women empowerment. And these are the political policies are very related to the opportunities that also girls and women can have. And of course, COVID is a good moment to begin again. But as you have said, I think these Gulf countries have a lot of, they have learned a lot. And so they will have a very good, after the, during the post-pandemic time, you have going to win a lot, especially in women's rights. And also you have said something that it is very important, that are the women's associations in these countries. This will be my closing words, and I will give the microphone, I will give the floor to Ana Elena. Ana Elena, please.
Well, once again, thank you very much for your enthusiasm and for your clarity, Sharifa. I think one of the things that we need to realize is that we share problems, we share also achievements, and this type of event helps us to develop bridges between our different communities. And we hope that there are possibilities of exchanges like this one through dialogue or through collaboration in the future. Once again, distances have become smaller nowadays, and it is so thrilling to have participants from around the world in different scenarios, and so it is fantastic to draw this bridge between Mexico and Oman and the Gulf region in general. Well, thank you once again for this. And thank you as well, Alicia. Many congratulations for having Puea and opening this forum to many different expressions from around the world and dealing with crucial topics such as women's rights. And we hope to see you all next week when we shall have the second one of our talks. Thank you very much, and goodbye for now. Bye. Ya, listo. Perfecto. Sí, al principio. Sí, se encimó, ¿no? Es que si dejas abierta la ventana... Pero bueno, ya cobra vida. Ahorita, donde yo vi, había 8 personas en YouTube de nuestro canal. Falta revisar todos los otros canales, a ver cómo se van sumando. En Facebook suele ser donde hay más, ¿no?